Hello and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker Builder Show, the CEO 1440 show, where we look at maximizing your 1,440 minutes every single day. And today I've got a very special seasoned guest, 20 plus years in the advertising space, was a founder of LeadPop's Rebel IQ. I think that was 2011, has funded over $10 billion of loans, and just saw him post something today online that says, working 20 plus years with LOs and agents has taught me one brutal truth. The numbers game approach to agent outreach is a special kind of hell. Welcome, Andrew Pawlak. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, John.
Hey, I'm glad to have you here. It's been a while, and the stuff that you've been posting on LinkedIn and just out there recently has been on fire. And I said, my people got to hear more from this guy.
Well, thanks, man. I've gotten into a point where I enjoy LinkedIn. For a bit there, it was like, oh man, it's just a thing I feel like I got to do. Now I enjoy it. It's cool to get good feedback, so I appreciate that.
Well, it's neat in that as you kind of like are in there more, your ecosystem gets a little bit smaller and you start to see the same people showing up. But it's almost like what we would have done 15 years ago, where you'd go out to the bar after work and you'd talk to people and you'd kind of talk shop and you'd get a look and feel. Like that's what we get on LinkedIn today. Since we never actually talk with anybody, we sit in rooms with, neat lights and neon stuff behind us.
Yeah, don't get out enough. It's kind of cool when once in a while a client is in town or somebody's an hour or two away, but otherwise it's all solo in the office. And yeah, you know how it's like.
Well, just so you know what, a lot of what we do here is my clientele and the people that I work with a lot of mortgage bankers, mortgage brokers, people that are looking at growing and scaling their business. And you're in a unique spot in that you've been in this space, driving leads to loan officers now. I think, did you get started with LeadPops? Was it 2011?
Yeah, that was the year we launched LeadPops, and prior to that, I'd co-founded a mortgage website marketing company. So that was 2005, and got into this stuff in 2004. So it's been a while.
So you were back in there with AOL emails and banner display ads on your MSN page where you'd buy a half a page. That's where you got started.
We started. There was you could do all this crazy black hat SEO and make a website rank in Google by just spamming the hell out of keywords on it. I mean, there was multiple search engines people cared about and were messing around with. It was like the wild west back then. It's a fun place to start.
Yeah, I was at Rocket, what is today Rocket Mortgage then, and we had a pretty big marketing team trying to figure out all of those things, different places. It's crazy to see how far things have come. Well, let me ask you just kind of some just generic questions. You said in there $10 billion of loans funded. Give for people that might not know you just the 2-minute commercial of kind of what you've done, how you've gotten to the point you are. I know you've launched a ton of different products. Some things probably flopped. You thought they'd do well, but kind of just walk us through 2004 to today, where you're at, what you're trying to do, and how you're really helping the lending world.
Yeah. Got started selling websites to real estate agents. First job early on, I was 19 years old. Cold calling realtors, 150 to 200 dials a day, just literally looking them up on the internet, finding a phone number and calling them to sell them digital marketing and websites. So I kind of cut my teeth cold calling real estate agents. I know what that's like. And I figured out pretty quick, that I didn't want to make a lot of dials. I'd rather do a little homework and prepare for the call and make less calls, have longer conversations, and kind of, address objections that I knew were going to come up because I heard every single one of them time and time again. I knew what they were going to say. So I just started to really work on getting better at the conversations, the scripting, a lot of practice with voice inflection and, all that good stuff. So got really into the sales stuff early on, got pretty good at it, took it pretty seriously. I didn't go to college, didn't go to school. My dad told me early on that if I don't go to school, I better get good at sales. So I took his advice and I really just I practiced, I read books, I listened to Brian Tracy at the time, who still, I don't care what anyone says, that guy was good and taught me a whole lot about all kinds of stuff in life and sales. I just figured out really early selling websites and marketing to agents that if it doesn't convert, then it doesn't matter. Meaning if you're getting traffic and you're spending money on ads, that doesn't do you any good if you can't convert the traffic you're getting into actual leads. So Even back then, website platforms allowed you to kind of like log in to a sort of a CMS back end of the website. Like today, people are familiar with like WordPress and Squarespace and all these types of site builders, Webflow. You log in, you can make changes. Well, that was the case even back in 2004. So I'd log in and I'd do stuff for clients. I'd make changes. I'd update, language on forms. I started just tinkering around with testing different ideas. And lo and behold, my clients were outperforming the out of the box kind of solutions our company was providing. And I just got really interested in conversion and lead generation. And I thought it could be done better. So, I've been kind of chasing that idea ever since. Launched Lead Pops in 2011, with that being the entire foundation of the company. Was lead gen is really owned by a couple big players out there, and I saw that they were doing something that I thought was really unique and interesting with how they built their landing pages, their lead forms. Nobody was doing that besides Lower My Bills and Lending Tree really at the time that I saw approaching lead capture and lead generation that way. And I figured that this should be something lenders, loan officers, agents, insurance, I mean, you name it. There's a bunch of verticals where this approach really makes sense and it works really well. I built a product to try to do that. Struggled at first to try to sell it. Nobody was buying what I was selling from my kitchen table. I was trying to call mortgage companies and loan officers. And after about 14 months, almost threw in the towel, wasn't making money, was not growing the business, got this idea that I needed to land a whale, pitched Zillow on the idea, started out at a lower level sales guy, kind of elevated all the way to management. Sales director of mortgage at Zillow said, let's test it. And he tested Lead Pops inside of Zillow live with a great client, National Bank of Kansas City, still a client today. And they said they'd be the guinea pig to see what happens. And we absolutely blew their conversion rates out of the water. And that just set off a series of events that kind of like led to what we are known as today and what our specialty really is still here today.
Hey, if you're here, it's because you understand that the world is changing at an alarming rate, and you understand that big data is going to dominate as we move forward. Either you're going to use it to grow your market share, or somebody's going to use it against you to grow theirs. If you want to dig a little bit deeper here, take a look at your own business, figure out and identify some key constraints, maybe some things that you could do a little bit differently to grow a little faster. Here's what I can tell you. After 27 years of doing this, helping well over 1,000 loan officers earn hundreds of millions of dollars of commissions, there are a couple of key constraints inside of your business. I don't know what they are right now. I just know that they exist. So if you're curious about this, let's get on a strategy call. Take 20, 30 minutes. You will walk away with one or two actionable items that you can do to do more business as you move forward. There'll be a link someplace here on the page. I look forward to personally meeting you. Oh, that's crazy. So 14 months of plugging away, trying to sell your good idea at people a lot of no's. What, just kind of diving into that, what was your ICP? Like, what was your ideal client thought you were selling to that was kept saying no, and then you landed, NKCB or whatever it is?
It was loan officers, mortgage lenders, and, companies that were in some cases buying leads, and I was pitching the idea of generate them for yourself. Like, this is what these big companies you're buying leads are doing. Like, I can show it to you, and I can show you a platform that does this for you. You're generating your own first party leads. And I was talking about lead conversion and optimization and landing pages. I'd been good at cold calling prior, so I thought I was going to nail selling my own product, and I struggled. And maybe too early on, the idea of a landing page wasn't really even out there in 2010, 2011 when we started just kind of testing the idea. So it might have been too early for like your typical loan officer lender type, whereas Zillow was all about optimization. They have been a very entrepreneurial company. I mean, 2011 and 2012, 2013, when we were working with them, they're all about testing ideas. And, hey, we're driving a whole bunch of traffic. If you can help us convert more of the traffic we're already driving into leads, that's a no-brainer, right? So it was just identifying at that point in time, especially that, there are certain companies that were going to, care about this stuff and understand it, whereas, very few seem to really get it or even think about it in the mortgage world. It was, lead gen companies primarily. We did a lot of work with Bankrate, built out all all their landing pages for all their lenders, rebuilt their entire rate table experience. That was a huge, amount of experimentation and learning for us as a company, but we got to test real world stuff and, see what converts and what doesn't. And a lot of things that are even counterintuitive about, how to capture leads, we discovered and kind of built into our platform, testing on real world consumers.
So you start there with the Zillows, the bank rates of the world. I know at some point your company morphs to, there's a lot of individual loan officers that were using landing pages through lead pops. I could go and get my own landing page there, my own website, those kind of things. Kind of walk me through that progression. And now you're into the individual bankers running their own marketing. What were the big differences between the two? And you had all the proprietary knowledge, and that if you can do it for Zillow, it's really easy to do it for a small guy. But what's the biggest parallels there, or the biggest threads that you could pull between the two?
Yeah, well, the parallels are it doesn't matter if you're spending $1 million a day or you're a local LO that's doing local marketing. The process to capture and create leads is really the same. There's a psychology behind messaging, colors, images, questions, like the whole sequence and how you kind of guide people through that progression of providing information. That's really universal. What I discovered though is obviously you need to be putting either money or effort into driving traffic. My best clients typically are people who are already investing in marketing and driving traffic and active, because I've got great lead capture and lead gen, awesome landing pages. But if it just sits there and you don't push anybody to it, and you're not investing in marketing, you're not driving traffic, you're not even posting on social media, you're not creating content, you're not doing any of that stuff, the best mousetrap in the world is not going to capture or catch anything. So really just we've honed in on our ICP, over the years and figuring out who's successful, who isn't, and really just try to go all in on, clients who we feel are going to have the most success, the quickest. It's people who are driving traffic. So, these days we do work with a lot of consumer direct shops, companies that are buying leads that are all, also interested in first party lead gen. And really anybody that's out there actively driving traffic, whether it's through content creation, video, social media posting, paid ads, obviously, if you're running Google, if you're running Facebook, any of that kind of stuff, like we are the perfect destination to be driving that traffic to, because if you spend all the money in the world, if you're on top of Google, if you're doing all this stuff, but you're not driving it into the right conversion experience, you might as well light your money on fire, right? Like, and you start making the wrong decisions and drawing the wrong conclusions. You might think that, this SEO stuff we've spent all this money on it's just not working. We're not getting anything out of it. Well, if I take a look at your site and it's not built to convert, and I see that you're getting a ton of traffic, it's not necessarily that the SEO is no good. I'm interested in seeing the quality of the traffic, of course, but a lot of times it's because the traffic's good, but the conversion's not. So you're getting a bunch of clicks and they're just spilling out the bottom of your bucket. And in mortgage and real estate, that's a very expensive mistake to make. Every time you lose a loan that you should have gotten because your system is not optimized to convert, and it's something you can fix. It's just most folks aren't even thinking about that stuff, right? They don't consider, well, like, what's the sequence of questions? What questions should I ask? What do I not ask? They're driving everything to like an apply now button in a loan application that asks me to log in and create an account. That's way too much, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, but just understanding conversion's key, and the more traffic we can get in front of, the better.
Yeah, I like to say that there's two super important parts, and why I see a lot of direct to consumer places struggle in the purchase space is if I can, hardest thing first off is to drive an eyeball there, to let somebody know who you are. I like to say that there's somebody someplace in the world that's probably more talented than LeBron James is today that doesn't even play basketball. You and I just don't know about him, right? He's in the Congo someplace or in a city, right? I don't know where he is, but I bet that there's somebody more athletic, but nobody knows about this individual. So they're completely useless. So the first thing you have to do is somebody needs to know about the products and stuff that you have. But then the second piece is being there still when they're making that buying decision. And this is where purchase is so hard, is that the lead gen can drive them there, at least what I see. Lead gen can drive them there, but if your pages don't convert, or you have that initial conversation with them and they're not buying a house for 6 months, and you don't have an exact sequence to be one of the few people there in 6 months, you're going to get eaten alive, because if they go to Zillow, Zillow's going to be there in 6 months. They're going to give them a Zestimate. They're going to give them 74 things. Rocket Money and Truebill and all them are going to be there. So as the little individual, we've got to find ways to also be in the mix all the way through to the end. And either you're there with your real estate agent or some way. Is there something that you would say, like on the pages, and I've seen some posts of yours, that the first 30 seconds somebody has at your page is the most important, right? They decide, am I going to stay or go? Are there little things that people should just be doing that you see just massive mistakes in?
Oh man, yeah. Where do I start? But a big one that is just it's prevalent. It's there's no call to action. Like there's some fluffy platitude that means nothing. Like a statement of some sort, like a mission statement or something that doesn't really move the needle. It doesn't tell the client what to do, doesn't let them know what to expect. It doesn't provide any direction. The headline space, the above the fold real estate on a site is just absolutely critical to make sure that's optimized. And if you don't use that space the right way, if you're not providing direction, if you're not adding the right conversion touch point, like a good button or some way to start to enter into the process, I mean, you're going to miss people. They're going to come, they're going to read some stuff, they're going to leave. An apply now button, I haven't spoken with you. I'm not going to even click the button. I don't even know what happens on the other end of it, but I'm not even going to click the button if it says apply now because I don't even know you. I don't trust you. There's no relationship. I'm not ready to just do a loan app because my realtor told me about you. Like, that's not a slam dunk. We still have to earn that business and we still got to approach it the right way. Like, not to say you shouldn't have a loan app. You should. Those are, great for people that are ready, and you drive them there to do that specifically and you send them to the loan app. There's a whole bunch of people that aren't ready for that step, that are finding you kind of behind the scenes, doing their own research, doing their own discovery in the background. You just don't know about them because they don't call you to tell you you missed out on them. They just disappear, right? They come, they click, they read, not ready to apply, they drop back out, they're in Google again, and then guess who gets them? Rocket or one of these big portal sites, because they approach lead gen the right way and they know how to kind of walk people through the process and create a lead that becomes a conversation, that becomes an opportunity to obviously then send them into the loan application. But when you start with apply now as the first step in the process, you're just going to miss out on a whole bunch of people you should be talking to.
Yeah, I believe that we all lose way more business than we ever earn. They showed up in our ecosystem, they looked at it quickly, and they just sprinted away before we ever even knew about them. And I've heard from people before, they say, I don't need a website. I get no business from one. I'm like, well, of course you don't. And the person that doesn't know who you are doesn't call you to say, hey, I didn't do business with you because you have a bad website. Like, you just never hear about them. So what are kind of three must-haves in your opinion, after doing this for 20 years, that everybody's landing page should have, or their website should have? Where's the biggest mistakes that people are making out there? And I'm sure you've looked at thousands of websites at this point.
Yeah. So messaging that is just unclear. No good call to action. I said that before. I'll say it again. That is just such a missing piece for so many sites and so many landing pages and emails that I see. So clear, direct messaging, tell them what to do, tell them how it benefits them, focus on what's in it for them, make that clear. Imagery that is interfering with the content to where it's like, hey, that's a beautiful background picture, I can't read your text, right? So just this design heavy kind of focus, that's going to kill your conversion. Sometimes the ugliest stuff is going to convert the absolute best. And you see these web designers that get their hands on stuff a lot of times, and they're all just design focused to make it look so pretty, but it ends up costing you clients. So just making sure people can understand what they need to do, what they're there for. The messaging matches, the actual audience, especially if it's ad copy that got them there for a specific loan product or program or a solution. You drive them into something that's actually going to match and reflect what got them to click in the first place. So that's going to be critical. The right button colors make a huge difference. The right button text, the right trust factors, reviews, like subliminal messaging that you position in the right spots to kind of let them know you're not going to sell their info. It's not going to ding your credit. Like, I'm not going to ask for your social. Like, you got to layer and stack and position this stuff. So you're answering objections and you're kind of handling the things that are probably on their mind, and kind of just, eliminating that from the thought process as a barrier and just walking them through then a really good gamified, fun, believe it or not, if you do it right, it can be fun, lead capture process that doesn't feel like a daunting loan application. It's not a bunch of fill in the blanks. You just kind of step them through that process, make it easy, get them committed, and then of course collect their information at the end. And then you better have that follow up and that nurture dialed in, because there's the other leg. Like there's three pieces: drive traffic, capture, and then convert and nurture. And if you don't have, if any of those is missing or just not dialed in, the bucket's leaking, right? So once you capture that lead, making sure you have the right follow up sequence, the right thank you page, and then the right long-term nurture. Because like you said, if you're not using something that's going to keep you in front of those clients consistently, for the next 6 to 12 months, especially on the purchase side, you might capture the lead now. Great. You got there early. Probably even before a realtor did. 50% of the leads we're capturing on the purchase side tell us they haven't even talked to an agent yet, which is great. But now you got to have a system to keep in front of those people, until the time is right. Because if you don't, nice, you got a lead, but if it doesn't close, no, what good's that? So.
I agree 100%. And a little shameless plug here. If you're struggling to have a system for your long journey leads, reach out. We've got this thing called their Fin Toolbox. It's a FinLocker app that works really, really well. So if you want that and you're struggling with that, reach out. I've got a thing for you. So I know you guys do a lot.
There's a call to action. See, there you go.
Yeah,
that's what they're not doing. Do what John just did.
And it's so simple. And I have worked with hundreds of bankers and looked at what they're trying to do. And the lending world today, believe it or not, has actually got pretty good at the eyeballs piece. They can get likes, but they really struggle on turning likes into leads. And I can get people to view me on TikTok, but it doesn't actually turn into a client name, phone number, email, those kind of things. And you see their catchy little things like reply with 10 things for a first-time home buyer. And then they send them out a PDF and do nothing with it. You guys, I know, have done a very good job of having landing pages, like the second look landing pages, some of those kind of things. What have been the best performing landing pages that you guys have been running and using with clients, loan officers here recently? I'm sure it's probably second mortgages, maybe.
Yeah. HELOC has been great right now. Got one that's converting close to 60%. It's a 27 question lead form, mind you. I'm not, so, when I think about quantity, I think about quality as well. Obviously, a bunch of crappy leads nobody cares about. But we do have a dashboard that tells you, how many visitors, how many leads, what's the conversion rate on every single lead form. And, the more lead forms you have, the better, is what it comes down to. If you can plug them into your Google business page, your social profiles, platform profiles like Zillow and realtor.com and, Yelp, and you got them in your email marketing campaigns, you got them in your QR codes at open houses, like all that stuff, the more the better. It's just more capture points, more touch points, more opportunities for consumers to stumble into something looking for you. And you can't help the fact that Zillow comes up when somebody Googles you, but you can optimize at least your Zillow profile to make sure if they ended up on that page, you can take them back and pull them over to a conversion tool. So, QM, non-QM stuff has been doing great right now. Cash out refinance, that business is still humming. So a lot of that's happening. Purchase, any kind of niche purchase stuff is good. If you can get into a 2-1 buy down or a, pre-approval page specifically, it just standard stuff works well. If you tie it into the right spot, if you got the right call to action, I mean, there's so much of it. I've got about 30 different lead forms, and landing page templates across every kind of product you can think of. And, a bunch of niche ones that people are doing for Homes for Heroes. I mean, it's hard to answer. It all works well, in the right market for the right audience and with the right messaging. It's all out there. Maybe refinance, standard rate and term refinance right now isn't humming, but the other stuff, there's just a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, a place that I see a lot of people, I guess, maybe mess up or they're just not optimizing it, is that they're going out and they're talking about a cash out refi, but again, there is no call to action. And they don't, or not even a soft call to action, just no call to action at all. And I would say that a hard call to action is like, go to my landing page. Here's the link. A soft call to action might be DM with questions, but I just don't see one at all. What are your thoughts on, if I am running a social media post about a cash out refi, do you lean more heavy towards like a hard call to action with go straight to this landing page? Or do you think maybe a soft call to action might work a little bit better?
I like to mix it up. I like to test. I don't think that you have to necessarily, there's a balance, but you can offer both. You meet them where they're at. You don't want to throw a phone number, throw a link to an application, throw a link to a landing page, plus DM me, and tell me if you're interested. Like, don't overload it, but it's no problem to say, hey, if you want to chat or if you want to learn more, DM me. Or if you want to see how much you can get and find out what you qualify for, click the link in the comments below. It takes like 30 seconds, no social security number required. Something quick and easy like that. So you give them a couple options like, hey, DM me, or if you want to find out how much you can get, click the link in the comments, right? So just a couple different ways to meet you where you're at.
Yeah, I think that people just need to make it less confusing. Sometimes you have to like go through this. I actually look when I try to call on loan officers or somebody posts something, I'm trying to call them to sell them. And it's virtually impossible for me to track down their phone number. Right. I should be able to like call if I'm trying to solicit somebody for coaching. It should be really easy for me to find their phone number to be able to call them. And it's shocking how hard it is to find some loan officers to actually be able to call them.
Yeah, I mean, the more friction, and the more of an obstacle course you make them jump through, hoops to jump through just to get in touch with you, you're asking for problems, right? So make it as easy as possible, and whether it's one point of entry or two, I just think it's worth experimenting with. You might get 3 DMs and 2 people filled out your link to your landing page. Just don't overdo it, right? And definitely don't just tell them to apply now, apply online like that. It is. I'm gonna just say it, as an outsider, kind of looking in. It's still a bit shocking that has not become just like obvious in the industry, but it's still what I see more than anything is the call to action is to just apply for a loan. Like that's a really big ask to ask of a customer or consumer that doesn't know you, even if they've been following your content and liking your stuff. It's most people aren't ready to just do a loan app when they don't know you.
Yeah, I do quite a bit of coaching with companies, and it's still shocking how many of them have a quick phone call and the phone call doesn't go great. And it's like, hey, I'm going to email you an apply now link, fill out all this stuff and send me in your paycheck stubs. But it's what they learned during COVID. When rates were at 2.75, you could discard 25% of the tire kickers and still do a lot of business. So a lot of people in our industry today that saw success saw it in that market, and they're still trying to apply those principles today into their business. And that was an apply now market. Somebody was going to give you a whole lot of hard time and they wanted you to email them 18 quotes. You were just like, go fly a kite. I'm not doing it. The next client's just going to lock in on a 30-year and not give me any grief. But today, if client wants, it's $1 million loan and they want 18 quotes, there's a lot of mortgage bankers that will send them 18 quotes along with a video and a whole bunch of stuff. And then they ruin it by sending the apply now link.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The COVID, aspect of, behavior, that especially folks that came into the industry during that time, and that's, all they knew. But there's a lot of folks that were prior that just know that you just got to understand, right? The what's the relationship level, what's the call, comfort level, assess those types of things and act accordingly. Don't just treat them all like they're a layup. And especially if you're generating leads from content and marketing and just they're somewhat cold, even if they came in through your lead form and answered 15 questions, they're still not necessarily ready to just jump into a loan application the way a really warm referral from a realtor who already sold them on you and they're just like ready to go. You can't treat them all the same, because if you do, you're just going to miss out on a lot of opportunities to do loans that you should close, but because you kind of treated all the same in terms of your follow-up, you end up dropping the ball and losing those opportunities.
Yeah, once you get them in and you have that initial conversation, everything in my opinion that I want to do, if I'm a loan officer, is I just want to be one of the 3 people that are still in the fight when that client's making that decision. They've got their signed purchase agreement in their hand. I just want to be in the mix. Every activity that I did up to that point was just to still be in the fight then and there. What do you think is one of the biggest things, if you were to go back and tell Andrew from 2015, like what would be some advice you would have given your younger self when you were just getting started?
Oh man. All right, let me think. It's probably so much of it. Advice to younger self. I would say really get clear on your ideal customer persona. And just because you want to help everybody, it doesn't mean you really can. And just really understand who you can have the biggest impact on, and who's going to be a really good fit, and who's going to be able to really win on your platform, and focus on them. It's not for everybody, and there's some real clear indicators that I know and I understand and I look for these days as to who could be a fit versus those who might not be. So, at the beginning, I knew of the idea of an ICP, but I thought, hey, mortgage, if you're doing loans, man, you're all my ICP. I can help all of you. Like, I got this platform that does this, this, and this. But, I got more clear about that and how I can serve our clients, and, different ways that we can, solve real problems for the specific people we're meant to solve problems for.
And I know your business has changed a little bit, or maybe what I know of it has changed, but you are more specialized today probably than ever before, with as far as what you're doing with Rebel IQ, kind of what your ideal customer looks like. Would like to let you kind of talk about that a little bit. What exactly, like, who does Rebel IQ take care of today? What's your main value proposition, and why would somebody want to reach out to you in the first place?
Yeah. Capturing first party leads is our forte. It's conversion optimization. It sounds overly technical, but it's helping our clients stop losing their best leads. And, the more marketing activity that a company is doing, the more active they are on different channels, the more money they're spending on ads, whether it's radio ads or Google traffic or Facebook, mailers, QR codes, like that activity all creates huge opportunity to capture and convert leads. And you put us on the receiving end of that, and it's like magic happened. So my best clients are people who come to us, and they're, some of them are already buying leads and spending a bunch of money on that, and we help them create their own first-party lead engines. So really, it's anybody and everybody that's actually investing in growth and driving traffic. My product does nothing for you if you've got nothing to plug it into. You're not active with marketing in any way, and you're not investing in anything. There's not a whole lot I can do in terms of capturing, because there's really nothing to capture. The other side of it is using that product for agent partnerships, real estate agents, and helping our lenders and loan officers partner with agents who fit that type of profile as well. And just knowing there's a benefit agents get right out the gate in terms of the amount of activity online that real estate creates versus mortgage. There's 10 real estate searches for every one mortgage search. There's a little bit of a behavior shift for buyers out there trying to figure out what they can afford first, but it's still very, very slanted towards real estate. So, one of the ways that mortgage clients can win and help their agents win is optimizing what agents are doing, helping agents capture and create and convert more leads. Solving those gaps has been a great opportunity for us and our loan officers, and we've really been spending a bunch of time in that specific area and use case, because it creates a really interesting kind of value prop for us, for our loan officers, is using Rebel IQ as a differentiator for you with your agent relationships and your partnerships.
You mean, so agents are out there with the equivalent of apply now button, list your home today, and they're messing it up on their end also?
It's not as bad as an apply now button necessarily, but they've got really weak lead capture from a quality standpoint. They've got systems that are the same thing that was going on in 2004 when I started selling real estate websites, is forced MLS registration forms, real weak lead capture, missing lead gen, missing calls to action, overly graphic and video rich websites where you can't even read the content, you don't know where to go. Very few conversion touch points. The only lead gen you have is crap lead gen. Sorry to say it like that, but it's really like low quality garbage that you get, to the point where you've got a team in the Philippines calling 600 forced MLS registration leads a month to just hopefully find one or two good ones. The stat from the NAR is that the average conversion rate on real estate leads is 0.4 to 1.2%. So there's just so much garbage. Quality matters a lot. If you can help them get not just more, but higher quality leads, that's a big win. And there's so much opportunity when you start to look at the sites, the marketing, the Google business profiles, the social media, the mailers that they're doing, the open houses that they're doing. So much opportunity to plug that stuff in. And one of my favorite places to look also is, what do they got for mortgage? What do they got for financing? There's so many rabbit holes you go down once you start clicking around and exploring, and you know what to look for. that give you really just a whole checklist of gaps and problems and AKA opportunities to fix and improve and optimize what the agents are doing. And instead of Rebel IQ being kind of the hero of the story, we position our loan officers to come in and be the hero of that story. And we're just kind of in the background making it happen.
Yeah, as you mentioned all those things, and I think of real estate landing pages and the things they're doing, they are a very, very leaky bucket. I'm sure a lot of people come there, they look at one property and then they're gone and they never show up again, where there probably was a lot that could have been done to do things a little bit different. Do you work with many clients that are, I know a lot of bankers that end up in this joint marketing thing with a real estate agent. They're buying Zillow leads. They end up in some realtor's CRM, right? Maybe they have somebody in the Philippines that's calling on these leads. The banker gets it as an email. Nothing's really happening. And the conversion kind of just stinks, especially on the banker side. And they're only doing it to keep the agent happy by having the shared lead spend. Do you deal with much of that? And what would be your solution there?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I hear clients, loan officers that are sick and tired of it and feeling like they're kind of held hostage by, the need to spend the money on the stuff that they know doesn't really work. But if they don't, then, some other loan officer will, and say goodbye to that agent relationship. So they're kind of in this tough spot. If you got to have something to counter it with, you got to have something to say, hey, instead of that, let's take a look at this and here's why, and understand how to have that talk track with the agents. But being able to counter it with something that is more compelling, or making a demand that, hey, if we're even going to consider doing this kind of stuff, right? Like spending money on Zillow, spending money on ads, we got to optimize everything to actually capture and convert leads. Otherwise, we might as well light our money on fire. So really understanding hey, where can I take the conversation? How can I provide an alternative? And if we're going to even consider doing that, how do I kind of create some leverage in terms of what my demand would be that we, also look at doing, and, having a way to have that conversation. Because if you're spending money on any kind of marketing, even if you're buying leads, it's going to create activity. And if I go to your site and your site just lets me drop out the bottom of your bucket, or if I click onto your site, I'm spending money on Zillow, but I see, this other loan officer is on your website already. Let's talk a little bit about that and make sure we're aligned on this stuff, because I don't want to just be throwing money into Zillow and your favorite 1 to 2 LOs are still reaping the rewards because you're referring all of your business to those two still. So
yeah, I was very surprised when all the things came out, like the MMI and the model matches of the world, the Redder, where you could actually go and see how much business an agent actually does and what the spread is of how many people they send it to. Because the perception would have been, oh, that agent sends all their business to one person. But then you go back and look, and it's very fragmented. There are not a lot of really super strong agent lender relationships that I see. Like a high number might be that 20% of their business closes with one person. So that if you're a loan officer sitting out there, there is a big blue ocean of agents that might work with a handful of people, but nobody that's really, not a lot of them are really locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I see, I saw a model match. I posted about this earlier today. A model match stat says that the average agent's working with 17 and a half loan officers. But then you still got, your top handful, few that are getting the lion's share of the business, and everybody else is fighting for scraps. So you might have 3 or 4 LOs that are really doing most of those deals. And then you still got everybody else that's getting whatever's left over, the rescue deals, the really, messy files and whatnot. And, what I find interesting about those tools, they're highly valuable. I'm a big fan of Model Match. I got a lot of clients using that platform. We're actually using it internally for our own kind of recon stuff. It's just what do you do about it? Right. So I got a lot of clients who are like, oh, cool, interesting. Oh man, I didn't even know she's sending all her business to that guy, or a good chunk of her business to him. And I'm only getting X amount. And that's a producer. Great. That's someone I should put time into. But what do I do? Right. So cool. I've got more information now, and I kind of know, who I should probably be putting more effort into. And I don't really have an action plan, and I don't really know what to do about it. And that's where, we're coming in and talking with our clients around scripting, strategy, outreach. How do you actually take that data and do something that's going to move the needle versus okay, I guess I'm going to call Shirley, once every couple of weeks now, because she's clearly doing a pretty good amount of business, and I'm only getting 4% right now. So I'll just put some more. And how do you do something that's actually going to matter? Like, how do you make that phone call not an awkward kind of begging, asking for like, hey, you got anything to send me kind of thing, or let me bring you a fruit basket, or let me spend money on something that we both know is not going to work. Like, how do you elevate that whole strategy in that conversation to actually do something with that data? Like, it reveals a lot of good stuff, but now here's how we're actually going to approach it and do something with the information that's going to actually help us get more loans, get more wallet share, and actually, drive growth with those agents.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of different things that you can do. There are different ways to attack that. And I think that big data, like model match, I use it all the time myself. Huge fan. I have dozens of clients that actually use it as well. And getting the data is only half the battle. What do you actually say to them to win them over to come and start doing business with you? And it sounds like you've got a plan. I think that our Fin Toolbox thing is a great way for a segue for them, but you've got to add a certain amount of value back to them. And everybody in our world wants certainty. Realtor wants certainty that if they do the thing with you, they'll get a result. And loan officers want a little bit of certainty that if they do the thing with you, they'll get a result. And I think that might be that the world today is full of all these AI bots that are going to 10x your business, yet it has no idea how much business I do. That right? Are they going to 10x it and take me to did I just become bigger than Rocket? Right? They have no idea. The world's full of people that are all, I can think, kind of lying to them. So it's good. And I would say this about Andrew and what they do there. They've been doing it a long time. They're not like some guy that's dropping in your DMs on LinkedIn that's going to revolutionize your SEO. And a lot of people have bad taste in their mouth from that person. They run on a different time schedule. They're just different.
Would you have, if I could bring you 3 to 5 appointments, would you be able to handle that? That's my favorite DM, is the DM that slips in and asking me if I could even handle the extra 3 to 5 appointments they would be able to send me. So yeah, there's a lot of fly-by-nighters. Mortgages attracts a whole lot of folks that seem to just pop in, and I think you got to have a lot of good experience with mortgage marketing and lead generation to really to understand the consumer to do it right. I've seen a lot of folks come in with an e-commerce background, and no doubt some impressive marketers that just couldn't get the mortgage industry and find success in mortgage marketing. So, having that expertise and time spent in the industry and the trenches is definitely helpful. But it's not to say we've all, nobody's figured it all out. There's so much you learn, and every day the new tech comes out, and these new systems are available, and agents they're chasing their own shiny objects. They've got their own coaches and influencers in the industry telling them to go over here or not look over there, and NAR stuff hits, and then leads, TCPA goes down and then comes back up. Like it's all crazy, man. So you gotta stay on top of it. Keeps you on your toes. Keeps you getting better. Keeps you hungry. But yeah, it's a fun space to be in, and it's fun to solve the problems because they make a difference, right? You're helping the consumer. That means something. Helping the loan officer close even a few more deals. That's a lot of money. A realtor. They do a couple more transactions. That's meaningful. We're not selling T-shirts and coffee cups. Like there's a substantial amount of interest, human emotion, capital, money tied up into all this. So even a couple percentage increase in business and conversions and leads and all that is pretty meaningful. So
I know you've got a hard stop. So I got one final question for you, and that is, you are a loan officer today. You just got started. Let's say you'd been working at Rocket Mortgage. You understand loans, but you've got to move over, and now you're responsible to go out, generate your own business, do your own marketing. Maybe you got to set up your own landing page, those kind of things. You got a limited budget. What's the first 3 things that you do to kind of get yourself going? Let's say you've got 10 grand to spend that you've set aside. You went and signed up with one of those. You've got 10 grand.
Yeah, absolutely. First things first, I'd stand up a website that's conversion optimized, made for lead gen. I've got a demo site. I posted about this the other day. I got a demo website that's out there just for fun. Cool brand I made up. It was if I was a mortgage company, this is what I'd do. This thing is producing leads, and it's a demo, and I can't get it to stop, and I'm not driving traffic to it. I'm not trying to spend money, and I'm getting weekly refinance leads off of this thing, and I'm So I would stand something like that up, and I would be pushing traffic to it every which way possible. I'd get my Google business profile going. I'd be posting content on social media to just, share knowledge, expertise, help people, driving them to landing pages that are purpose built to convert. I'd be using, a system to help my agents capture leads. I'd be going after buyers directly so I can use that as a foot in the door to go talk to agents and have meaningful conversations with something in hand to bring to that opportunity versus me coming at them with my hand out, asking them for referrals. I would be, really focused on a consumer direct lead gen play on my own while simultaneously using the opportunities that I'm bringing in to go out and build agent relationships and really differentiate myself from the loan officers I know they already have relationships with, especially if I'm the new guy and I'm coming in. So I got to be that much better at what I do and how I talk to them and what I bring to the table. So I'd be hitting it from both ends. I'm your hybrid. I'm coming at it from generate my own business. I'm not needy. I'm not desperate. I'm self-sufficient in terms of getting those leads and creating those opportunities. And then at the same time, I'm developing and building agent relationships and other types of relationships with other business professionals. I'm always on the lookout for when I get a lead, who else can I connect this person with? Who else can I create an introduction for where I can now get myself in front of that person, start creating new opportunities with those types of referral partners. Like I'd want a whole ecosystem of businesses in my local area that know me and refer me clients because I'm helping them generate business.
Got it. So on the agent relationship, that's just out, shaking hands, doing the things, taking something of value, the intro to other referral sources. On the lead gen side, would you go out and buy leads? Would you try and buy AdWords, Facebook? Like you've got 10 grand to spend. The hope probably being that you spend 5 grand of it and then you're making your next, right? So you get to a point that it's at least feeding
Yeah,
itself.
and I was really just talking about the free guerrilla stuff for the guy who's got almost no budget. If I got 10 grand to spend, I'm throwing it into Google ads, probably putting a little bit into Facebook. But Google I like because, they're looking for me, they're typing in keywords, they're actively searching, they're in, target markets that I want to go after. A lot of good intent behind that kind of activity versus kind of behavioral based, social media type stuff. Not to say I wouldn't throw, $500 a month into Facebook just because I want to be there, but primarily focused on Google.
So Google AdWords, and if you set up when you set up like your Google My Business and those kind of things, they're even running specials there, right? If you spend 1,000, they give you money back to kind of kickstart you. Would you also do any type of retargeting stuff?
Yeah, retargeting is difficult on Google just because of the financial aspect. Just really limits your retargeting abilities. I'd be doing that on Meta, so I'd be, if you clicked on any of my landing pages, any of my links, anything I've got, you'd be seeing me on Facebook and Instagram.
And okay, so prop up a landing page, guerrilla effort, just go at it hard, sphere of influence, those people that you already know. And then Google would be your thing to try and drive some traffic there while you're out building your other relationships. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't recommend anything different. So I think that it's a good place to start, and just be careful, everyone out there. If you're going to do it, map out the plan. What's the customer journey look like from the first time somebody's eyeballs shows up with you? Have a plan all the way through them, like applying and actually becoming a loan. Because if you just go out and buy ads, I can do it really easily, but it will just be, like Andrew said a few times, like lighting money on fire. You've got to have a whole plan. Same way you don't go to Costco and spend $1,000 without a refrigerator at home to put the stuff in. So that would be my only tidbit. Andrew's got to jump. I appreciate you being here. You got any final words for us?
Man, just keep grinding. Don't let anything in the industry kind of tell you otherwise. So much opportunity out there. I've got clients that are doing extremely well right now. So keep pushing, have fun doing it, try different things, be open-minded, and there's a ton out there. So keep grinding.
And if you don't follow Andrew on LinkedIn, he's posting a couple times, like I think probably every day, maybe 2 times a day, and just really good thought provoking stuff in around the marketing of real estate agents, things that apply exactly into our business. And over the course of a week, if you read all of his posts, there will be 3 or 4 things that resonate with you that say, oh, like you'll have little aha moments. So I think what you've been doing out there is great and helping the industry as a whole. So I do appreciate that. And we'll have some links for how you can get a hold of him, Rebel IQ, those kind of things. But there's a lot of business out there. You just got to capture it. Then you got to, what did you say? Capture, convert, and you had like a little acronym.
Yeah, I say attract, capture, convert. Really, those are the three things. You got to nail all three.
So do those things. Go get your kids, Andrew. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks,
have
man.
a good day. If you guys have questions for me, definitely feel free to reach out. If you're still here and you're watching this, you're probably getting something from our content. If so, maybe you know, or I'm sure you know, someone else that could also benefit. So if you could do us a solid, forward this, share it with your friends, other people that are like-minded that want help with simple solutions to grow their business. And if you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive someplace on here, there is a place to schedule a call with us to talk about your business and how we can grow it together. Look forward to hearing from you. Again, thank you for being here. Please do share.